I call this video Common Roots and Different Fruits. When you look at Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there is another commonality between these three religions, these systems of beliefs, one of which is that each of these religions have found themselves divided up over the years into different sects or groups. Judaism is common to be understood as a Hasidic Jew. You have a picture of a Hasidic Jew in New York when you think of, or Jerusalem. Orthodox Jews, Reformed Jews, cultural Jews. So Jews are broken up in their belief system, in their religious mentality and ideology into different groups, as is Christians, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, different perspective, different points of emphasis, different levels of understanding, and different levels of prioritizing in their doctrine. Judaism and Christianity are very similar in this as well. Now, when we understand Islam in the world today, we also have to understand that they too have subdivisions, subgroups, or sects that have happened over time for various reasons. The first of which, and you'll hear this on the news a lot, is called Sunni. 90% of Muslims today are in this category. They call themselves Sunni. 90% of Muslims that do not claim a direct lineage to the Prophet Muhammad, but have a traditional adherence to his teaching. Sunnis. That's the majority of Muslims on the earth today. The second one is Shia. You'll hear this term on the news. Shia are those who claim to have a direct biological lineage to the Prophet Muhammad. Thus, a succession of the truth that they deem to be in the Quran itself. Sufism, you'll not hear as much. Sunni, Shia, Sufism. Sufism is a mystical union with Muhammad that is, if you ever heard of the whirling dervishes, you ever heard of this phrase? This is a kind of an extremist kind of metaphysical, even inebriation involved in trance-like behavior in union with Muhammad. That's Sufism, mystical. And the last, two more. One is called Wahhabi. Wahhabi are the Islamic believers in Saudi Arabia. And you'll know them to be, I guess, more you would call, since the 18th century, more about moralistic rule, maybe more conservative in the way that they view what is allowed and what is not. So what do we notice? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all have subdivisions with various experiences, history, and points of emphasis and priority. And this is what happens when man involves himself in a system of beliefs. Man has preferences, desires, differences of opinion, differences of experience, difference of points of emphasis, and as a result, we end up at different camps. Very common between all three of these religions. Why? Because all three religions have human beings in them. And that's what happens when human beings get together. We like to subdivide. I would say a more fast-forward movement is the black Muslim movement that originated really in 1913 that some of us experienced in the United States. It's the liberation of the African American, the black American in the 1960s. Not to be confused with the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King, who sought to integrate the two populations of races together in the United States, whereas the black Muslim movement sought to make autonomy and liberation and separation. So, and Louis Farrakhan is the central figure, as you know, in that movement. So there you have the breakup of these different man's preferences that led him to the breakup and subdivision of these three monotheistic religions.